9 ways to use aged domains for link building with Kalin Karakehayov. The In Search SEO Podcast is brought to you by Similarweb, helping you build better SEO strategies with digital intelligence, insights, and data. Hey, it's David. It's becoming more important to differentiate what you're doing with your SEO. And one way to do that is with aged domains for link building. That's what we're discussing today with a man whose company currently owns 200,000 domains. He's the founder of SEO.Domains. A warm welcome to the In Search SEO Podcast, Kalin Karakehayov.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey Kalin, thanks so much for coming on. You can find Kalin, of course, over at SEO.Domains. So Kalin, how do you measure the value of an aged domain?
It's about the quality and quantity of the backlinks. It doesn't matter how old it is, just the backlink. You look them in an Ahrefs or another SEO tool, and you measure it by few mostly, if you have seen a lot of those.
Interesting. Okay, so a domain name that's just 2 years old with a few decent links beats a domain name that's 20 years old with just one good link.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. Well, today you're sharing 9 ways to use aged domains for link building, starting off with number 1, PBN with WordPress.
Yeah, that's the probably most massively used tactic. You just get a lot of domains. You don't aim for them to be very strong, just decent. Then you install WordPress, put a few pieces of content. Now AI makes this easier than before. You sprinkle this on different hosting accounts, name servers, use different WordPress themes, and you link your website from the homepage. And then you get those homepage links that are so hard to come about.
Okay, and this is still a strategy that works exceptionally well. We're not going to get to a stage where Google are going to start discounting those sorts of links?
I don't think so, because the internet has tens of millions of very small WordPress blogs that look a lot like PBNs. Of course, an experienced editor could tell manually the difference, but for the algorithm, it's extremely hard to do this. So especially in niches where Google doesn't care that much for an SEO, niches where there's no AdWords like gambling, adult, CBD, and others, it's extremely effective still.
And why with WordPress? Is that because, as you say, there's just so many millions of other WordPress sites out there?
It doesn't have to be WordPress, but if it's WordPress, yes, you're hiding very well among the others.
Got you. Okay. And in terms of server strategy, is it just a case of picking a shared server, but making sure that you have each domain name on a different shared server around the world?
There are several options. There are some good services, like, for example, bulk buy hosting, which buy a lot of shared servers and distribute them among the customers. So you don't have to, let's say, for a PBN, 50 websites, buy 50 different shared hostings, which will be cost prohibitive. So that this service, if you have a large PBN or different separate PBNs in different niches, you can probably do your own shared hosting, or just buy your small droplets in DigitalOcean or elsewhere. And again, you just need to have different name servers. Cloudflare is fine, it costs a large portion of the internet. So there are a lot of different options now. Before, the biggest problem used to be whois, but now after GDPR, whois is mostly gone. So now it's very easy. You can just keep your domain under your own name, and it's not visible even to Google.
And is this a strategy that you're comfortable recommending for a large, well-established brand?
It depends. If you're in a very competitive niche and your competition is also using gray hat tactic, maybe they're not using PBN, but they're buying links excessively or stuff like this, then you have to fight back in some way that brings power. Because when trust compete with trust, in the end, again, power decides. So just rolling juice from homepage links.
Okay, let's go into number 2, which is PBN with restoring archive content.
Now, that's kind of legally gray hat, because, of course, you don't own the content that you're restoring. But in practice, if you take it down, if there's a signal, an abuse complaint, either to the registrar, to the hosting, or directly to you, then in practice, no legal trouble happens. Of course, you should avoid restoring websites that will be more problematic, like websites of celebrities would be definitely problematic, websites of the government, websites of other lawyers or the military or the police, or stuff like this, definitely a no-go. As long as you're just keeping to like more classical content website and not trying to poke the most powerful entities in society, you'll be mostly fine.
Don't poke the bears.
Yeah, don't poke the bears. And in our experience, we have thousands of those, and the complaint rate, if you choose the website well, is less than 1% a year. So, of course, you're losing a small portion of the website, but most of them will still be there. You'll still be able to place these great homepage links. Diversity is just amazing because they are all different websites, all look absolutely real. You can place links on the homepage, including as banners to make it look even more real. And there are tools that can help you get the best copy from the archive. They are either free or cheap, like Archivaric. We also have a service for this if you just want to try with a few domains. And in the end, it's quite a good strategy because you can get a real website with thousands of pages in some cases just back in a day. And for Google, there's nothing more natural than just the old websites with the old URLs just to return.
And is it easy enough to establish that an expiring domain once hosted a website with perhaps hundreds or thousands of web pages, as you're talking about?
Yes, the tools that let you download also tell you in advance for free how many pages it has, how much it will cost to download. So it's very easy to choose which websites are good for restoration.
And you tend to keep the content, but maybe change the design of the website?
Oh, we keep everything the same and just remove personal data. So if there are like addresses, phone numbers, and definitely anything related to financial data. So if there's bank account, donation button, stuff like this, you're legally liable, criminally liable actually for this, for phishing. So you need to remove all of those very, very carefully. This is actually the main source of the problem, not the copyright. So you need to remove all of those. So there's no assumption that you're doing anything criminal. And in this case, it mostly works. Problems are rare. And for Google, it's extremely natural what's happening. Old websites, old URL. I think you have to be very excessive in your outbound links to get such a website penalized.
Okay. So that's utilizing expired domains by looking at the content that used to be or perhaps are currently on their websites. Now moving on to redirects, because that's the big thing for you as well. So you've got different redirect options, so redirect to homepage, subpage, and more creative redirects. So can you talk about that, please?
So the point of a 301 redirect is very simple. You pass almost all of the link juice to your money site. Google doesn't always give you all of the value, but if you get a large percent of the value, you're getting so many links in one go that it's a huge win. The main idea of the redirect is to just get Google to be fine with it. Google has various filters against SEO with redirect, of course, because otherwise just everyone would do it massively because it's very cheap. Let's say for $500, you can buy a good domain with, say, 200 referring domains, and you get 200 links for $500 for one-time payment. So it's $250 a link, a good link. So it's incredibly cheap if you just get Google to be fine with it. So people have different strategies to do it. There's the one very big no-go, and it's redirecting every page of the redirected domain to the home page. There's a filter for that, and you just immediately get the redirect get devalued. You can even, I think, hurt a new website if you do this. But mostly redirect cannot hurt websites because otherwise you will start doing them to the competition doing negative SEO. So redirects are pretty safe. They're not even considered gray cat. You're a gray cat. So unless you're doing like hundreds of redirect to one website, it's considered kind of white hat because redirect can very rarely hurt websites. And so there are three main ways. Most popular is redirecting to a subpage. You make a subpage, you say we bought this brand and it's now redirected to this place. They were doing this and this, which we integrated into our service in this way. Basically trying to just fool Google that there's some continuity of the old website. This is massively used, works pretty well if the domain is relevant, but you need a lot of relevancy for this. And also, I'm a bit skeptical of this approach because in the internet, no one does that except for SEO. So in the future, it will be very easy for Google to place some filter on this, and no real people will be hurt by this filter, just SEO. Something I like more is to redirect just your homepage to the other domain's homepage. You can do a canonical before to see if Google would pass the links via the canonical. You can check this in your search console and leave all of your sub pages to just crash into 404s. And of course, in order not to lose value, you choose to redirect the domain that has almost all of the links to the homepage. Sometimes events or other domains have most of the links to the homepage. They're very good for redirect because you pass all the value, but you seem completely innocent, because who would let their subpage is 404? Definitely not an SEO. So you look like just a normal lamer doing redirect on the internet. So this is something that we have tested and it definitely works. And the third way is just do creative stuff. I have seen, for example, people creating copies from the archive of the domain they're going to redirect on a subdomain, and then creating copy of the subdomain, and then linking their homepage. And then the redirect to the subdomain is fine with Google because the content is the same and your route structure is the same. It's like a mirror redirect. But then the link just gets passed from your subdomain, and you can do this like 100 times. There's no limit of how much you can do this. There's a very famous example of a website I won't mention, but a lot of people in the SEO industry are familiar with this website that had millions of monthly organic traffic with this strategy, just maybe 100 of those redirects. So there are ways to be creative with redirect, definitely. The only thing you need to remember is somehow Google needs to be fine with the redirect, and then even if you get just the partial power, it's a huge win.
Yeah, it was interesting what you were saying about the 404s, and actually you don't want to do it perfectly, because if you do it perfectly, that's a signal that perhaps actually that you're trying to a certain degree, cheat the algorithm.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that this over-optimization that you also have in on-page and in other areas of SEO. When you do the over-optimization, you just hit the bad patterns, and Google starts being very suspicious of what you're doing.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, and the last of the areas that you want to highlight is expired domains. So expired domains for your niche, for your brand, and for links as well. So how do you find expired domains and determine that they're right for your website?
First, just to clarify that aged and expired is basically the same thing. If the domain is expired and has a visible drop in the whois, it may be a little more sandbox, but in the end, the links are there. So it's not a big difference for sure. And sometimes there's no difference. Basically, all the aged domains that come from places like GoDaddy Auction, Google, if they wanted to, they can monitor that this list in GoDaddy Auction is extremely public and just flag the domains. But they don't, because in reality, aged domains and PBNs and 301 redirect are strategies that legit websites use for their SEO. Like, and if you know the gray cat dominated niches, if you ban the gray cat, then what will be left will be people with GSA and much more like massive niche edit, chat website, GSA, a lot more spammy stuff, and which costs zero money actually, like GSA. So Google doesn't want to open the space for the real black cat, so they like keep the gray cat at bay, but don't put a lot of effort into penalizing it. Definitely, like we have seen this evidence for this at least for 10 years back, that gray cat is being consciously tolerated to keep some balance with the quality of the server. So even if Google knows that a domain is expired and it changed owner, it doesn't mean that it will devalue the backlink. Now if you combine with other factors like extremely spammy AI content, then definitely you can get hit. But just on this, if everything else is legit, fine. So aged, expired, so whatever, it's all good. And a lot of affiliates use aged domains. A lot of them just build their whole project around the domain. Let's say they just browse through GoDaddy Auction, they see a good domain with very good link profile in a niche where you can make good money. Let's say they see a cybersecurity domain and they say, okay, this is very close to VPN. Let us make a VPN review website, and they buy the domain. Let's say they spend $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, and then the whole project is born just due to this domain being a very good match. So this is a very common occurrence from a big affiliate who are in many niches, and while choosing the niche, a good aged domain is very often a factor. In the case, the more like widespread case where you already have some business and just need to strengthen it, to improve its SEO, it's important to get a very relevant domain if you're going to do anything concerning your money site with an aged domain. Usually, if you start your business from scratch, like it's your literally first domain and first website, you don't know about aged domains, so it's not your classical choice. But if you already have one successful website and want to build a new one in a sister niche, or just build a second one in the same niche to get more positions in Google, then page domain is a great idea, because you already have an idea of the industry, of your niche, how SEO works in general and in your niche specifically. And in this case, you can get an edge domain in this niche, and make another website, which doesn't have to be connected to yours directly. It's not that the idea to link your website from another website, because it's just one website, but so the link power is limited. But the idea is just to rank another website and make more money. So using directly for money sites, relevance is very important. This is the case where I would also say that it's important to check the history of the domain. If there's in Ahrefs, for example, you can see if it's lost all its organic traffic at some point, so potential algorithmic or manual penalties, stuff like this, history in the archive, was it ever spammed? Like for 301 redirect and PBNs, the history of the domain is, I think, mostly irrelevant. Even if it was the most spammy Japanese PBN before, if it's still indexed, Google doesn't care, so it will still pass the link juice. But for something that is going to be your main website, it becomes important.
So if an SEO is listening to this that works for a relatively big brand, and they're quite a white hat SEO, so they haven't really been involved in the kinds of things that you're advocating today, how would you placate their fears? What would you say to them to actually encourage them that actually this isn't actually a big issue, what you're talking about? And what would be the easiest thing to do as a small step to get started with what you recommend?
Well, the best step, if you have a big brand, of course, you have a lot to lose. So, but also keep in mind that big brands are very rarely penalized by Google. So you have a lot more to lose, but the chances of the loss is lower. And you can start with just a sister website, another brand, and test everything on this brand. And then maybe if it works, you can redirect to the main brand, or you can just keep it separate, however it goes. But I can say that, for example, one of the top 10 hosting companies in the world attribute directly their success to being extremely black hat in the beginning, like massive PBNs and very heavy link building, which make them rank for keywords connected to hosting. And they are now one of the world's leading hosting brands. I'm not aware if they still do very great at SEO, but they were doing it for a very long time. And in an industry like hosting, where advertising is very expensive, and even if you have an affiliate program, which is the other good way to attract customers there, even in this case, you need to be in top 100 for someone to get into your affiliate program and start promoting you. You cannot start from scratch. So in such cases where the odds are against you, because, for example, hosting is a very hard industry to get clients, in the cases where the odds are against you, which include very competitive industries, I will again mention gambling, which is very great at because it's very competitive, but there's, of course, tons of money in it. If the odds are against you, just have to risk. The most risky thing would be just going by the book and not doing anything special, because then a lot of others will risk. For some it will work, for some it won't, but for those that work, they will outrank you, and you just be left in the backwater.
That's just like the advice, if you don't make a decision, you are actually making a decision by not making a decision.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Well, let's finish off with
the Pareto Pickle.
Pareto says that you can get 80% of your results from 20% of your efforts. What's one SEO activity you would recommend that provides incredible results from modest levels of effort?
I would say in a specific case, which is if you start SEO with little to no capital, definitely building a PBN is a very good first step, because there's a one-time small investment for a domain, and then you can start selling links. And when you sell link, the money for the link comes beforehand. So let's say you rent the link from your homepage for a year, but you get all the money now, which is actually pretty rare for renting, that you get a lot of money now for something you rent for a year ahead. And in this case, you can solve your cash flow problem, and you can build more PBNs. You can link your website and sell links and exchange links. And in this case, you're actually solving this hard start when you have in SEO where you have no places to link from. You know little other SEOs that can help you with link building, that you can exchange links with. And all of this, it's just hard when you start from scratch. I know, because 17 years ago, I started in SEO from scratch. So building these little satellite websites, like we call them back then, because PBN didn't even exist back then as a term, So we call them satellite websites. Building a PBN is very financially good. So of course it's risky, there are risks, but you have nothing to lose, you're just starting. So when you start, building a small network of websites is a very good way to start in SEO with your link building.
I've been your host, David Bain. You can find Kalin Karakehayov over at SEO.Domains. Kalin, thanks so much for being on the In Search SEO podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening. Check out all the previous episodes and sign up for a free trial of the Similarweb platform over at Similarweb.com.